the same steady hand, finding the ones who fell through the cracks of the plan. From Mitcham to Croydon, from London to the world, every flag he planted said, you matter, you're heard, but there's a man who finds you in the quiet.
And it start there. Okay, let's start there. So my world is it's very weird. I've got my new camera. I don't know what to make of it. No, it's clear for sure. I've had to do a lot more getting ready as I know my friends do for going live. I just tend to turn up when they're live. Yeah. But today I have me a new camera. Let's hope you can hear me. If you can't, please put in the comments so I can see that you can't hear me. But there's anything I can do about it, to be fair. Hopefully you can hear me loud and clear, and you can see me loud and clear as well. Welcome to today's Book to Business Live. So I haven't done this for a long time. YouTube, oh my God, is that excellent. So at least I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. Let's have a, not Facebook, LinkedIn. I do post to Facebook. I do stream to Facebook, should I say? Post. So let me see. LinkedIn. Are we on? Am I talking to myself? Which I don't mind. I don't mind. Really. Of course. Prefer you were here listening, or prefer you were here in the studio. That way we have a proper discussion. LinkedIn, I refuse to accept your privacy interruptions. You show me on every single LinkedIn page I click on, it says, do I want to accept third party cookies? The answer is no, I refuse. I refused before, and I'm going to refuse again. I'm looking at YouTube, and there's just a few of us on YouTube. Not YouTube, so if you're on YouTube, if you're on LinkedIn, welcome, my friends. I don't know what's going on. Right. Okay. So where am I in life? Anyway, you have to say hi if you're here. That way, I can work on you properly. Say where you join us from. Say what you're up to this morning. Say how your day started. Maybe if you're an author, then tell me what it's like. Come and share with us. Share with us in the comments, or you can join us on stage. The link is in the comment section of the event page. If you want me to send you your link to your DM, then please put in the chat here any link, please. So I'd love to have your thoughts. I don't know. I think this is part of my. I think these author questions is what I've called it, right? In other words, the questions that authors ask me. Liana, you made my day. Carolyn, I see you as well. Welcome. Ooh, I can barely hear you, said Carolyn. Let me see what gives. Let me see my settings. Settings. I press the button. I'm waiting for a response from Restream. I can't imagine why I'm frozen. Restream does this to you these days. It's disconcerting. Hear me. Hopefully, it is a million times better now, right? I really hope it is, because my camera is meant to be a super camera with good sound. So if you're struggling to hear me again, please do tell me, right? So don't be shy. If you don't say I can't hear myself, I'm just we just get to talk, right? And we hope everything works well. But I welcome you. I'm thankful for your time. I'm going to do my best to make your time worthwhile, worthwhile for you, well used. How are you doing, Miss Christie? Should call you Dr. Christie, really. Say our team building expert, team management genius. How you doing? Glad you're here. Oh, it's early in your place in the US, right? I say early because I don't do mornings. It's one of the perks of being any. So, but I do nights though, so I'm normally here all night. I hope you can hear me. So I'm trying to put on my YouTube. Okay, right. If you can't hear me, then do let me know. So I'm so glad. At least I'm not alone. Liana, always great to see you, superstar. Glad you're here. See, when I put those words in a text message, people think I'm just joking. I'm not joking. You are all superstars, and you deserve the credits that you all get, right? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, my sound is better. What's this camera doing? I tell you what the problem with the camera is, right? I've got me a super duper HD camera, 4K thing, which Cyrus suggested. Now, it's a great camera. At least you can hear me, you can see me now. My built-in camera is, yeah, it comes with a Mac, but it is kaput. It works, but it's not very good. That's the simple truth of it. And then my USB camera I've been using, that seems to have just died. Literally lost its sound, lost its picture. Here we are, right? Really odd. Yeah, but the problem I have is that this camera has a control mechanism. Yeah, it's a control system. I'm trying to think where else can I put it, really. Right. So you can control it by gestures. So I've done that. The camera's flashing. Now it sees where I am apparently. And then it tracks me. Look at that. Right. Something resized itself to put me in the right place. Okay, that's what I gotta keep doing. But the problem I have is that I have not got the software to control this camera. It's really annoying. Why haven't I got the software to control the camera? Download the software, Any. I tried, right? The problem is that my Mac is too old. I've got a Mac with Mac OS, so Mac operating system 10.5. I think was it El Capitan? I think so. Probably one before that, right? So I got Mac OS 10.5, and the software to run this camera wants Mac OS 11. A slight problem, which kept me up all night trying to work out how to do it. So there's a second way. The second way is that you can have a remote control when you download the app onto your phone, but you must connect the app to the camera on your computer, and I can't seem to work that out yet. But I'm going to work it out. When my son comes back today, I will work out how to make my phone the remote control. Then I can do whizzy things to this camera. That's what I look forward to doing. Look, welcome to Uncle Jay, our storytelling genius. So glad you're here. How you doing, Mr. Aurelio? Ooh. It's been a while, Mr. Aurelio. It's been a while. Thank you so much that you can hear me. I'm glad. It brightens my day. Thank you so much. Well, I haven't seen you for a while, Aurelio. Thank you for joining us. And I'm genuinely grateful. You see, in these events, many of us use the mechanism that LinkedIn, that the platforms give us. We invite our friends through our connections invites, right? Allocation that we get. Now, but I know to send DMs to people who I want to join, and most people will get an invite, a DM from me in the last couple of hours. If you're here otherwise, I'm super grateful. Mr. Smoke Book, I like that. I do like that. Who's Smoke Book? We've never met. Look, I'm always keen to make friends, especially if you're in the industry. You never know where we can collaborate. You never know which one of my clients need you, and which of your clients I can work with. But look, if you're up for it, my friend, let's talk. Let's talk. Let's connect. Now you're here, and then let's have a conversation. Who else do I see? Dr. Roxana, good morning. Look, straight after this event, Dr. Roxana, I will send you a Zoom link. Let's try and figure out what's going on with your event. Dr. Roxana has an event tomorrow, and the platforms are playing up. This time it's not Restream, it's StreamYard, right? Christy, I tell you, you made my day. Do I correct that problem in this thing, this tag thing that's going along? I don't know. Dr. Marcia, I see you as well. Welcome, superstar. So I'd love to have authors. I love authors to join us, and I would love to have some authors' views about our topic today. But you can do it in the comments, or you can join the stage. Dr. Marcia has 5 books, 6 books. So welcome, right? And Dr. Lisa, there are many times author in many books, should I say, talking about her favorite topic, area of expertise, menopause, and women's health, and women's well-being. So glad you're here. Okay, now I've taken a bit of your time so far. Oh, Miss Taisha is here as well, another author. How you doing, Taisha? I haven't seen you for a good while, right? So glad you're here. What's your books? What's your book, Taisha? I don't know your book. Look, for anyone who's got a book, please feel free to put the link in the comments, because people might well want to go and look at it, and they might even buy one, right? You never know. But if you don't share the link, then they definitely won't buy one, and then because they won't know how to get it. Yeah, I can hear you asking, can't they find it themselves? They could, but people are lazy. We're all lazy. If you say to me, I've got a book, or I have an event, you don't send me a link, I'm like, what am I meant to do? It's too much hard work, right? Anyway, look. Okay, let's have the conversation I want to have today. See, like I said, this is one of a series of questions that I want to be answering, simply because that's the way the internet works these days, right? The internet works when we answer questions. Camera, there's something really disconcerting about watching a camera that follows you around the room. So if I move, the camera's moved. He wants to keep me in the center of the picture. I like that, apparently. Anyway, it's all good. Look. Okay, so this series I'm going to do for a while, answering all those questions, because I think there's many questions that people have, and when people are looking for things online, they normally ask questions. Those people are you and me, by the way. Thinking of what you do, when you go and search online, you know what you're looking for, and you ask a question. I want this room to be one that answers authors' questions. It's always, I guess that's the premise on which this room was set up, right? Okay, Taisha's book, Social Work Isn't for Everyone. Oh, I like that. No, okay, I'm intrigued because I grew up in social care, and some good social workers, some god awful ones, some who should be nowhere near kids, all vulnerable people at all because they have no heart, Taisha. But I should check out your book, my friends, go and take a look at it too. So I'm intrigued, and I do get to read many books. So when you publish, but when you write and publish books, you end up reading loads and loads and loads. Anyway, right. So back to my author's question series. I think I want to do this series on YouTube as well. So I want to do it. I want to do the book, carry on doing book to business with issues for authors, and I want to do a YouTube live, which I probably once a week maybe, which is focused exclusively on answering people's questions. I don't mean questions that you send me necessarily. I mean questions that I know or that authors ask. They ask me, they ask other publishers, they ask online. It's not hard to find authors' questions, right? Because I think I want to be talking to the real issues in people's heads that really help them to move forward. You see, one of those issues is the question today. I get asked this all the time. Eddie, I can publish my own book. Why do I need a publisher? And I get a feeling they think I'm going to be stumped. You know, like it's a trick question, but it's not. Look, it's a good question, and more than a trick question. There are many reasons why people work with publishers, and I certainly have no problem, not one, with you self-publishing your book. You know, all I can do is have to say 10 out, share with you what you can, what you can expect from a good publisher, or how a good publisher can play a beneficial role in your book becoming a success. Oh, such words. What does success mean? Does writing your book make you a success? Of course it does. No, do you have to get book sales? Yes, you really do, right? You really do. You know, so selling your book becomes a part of the success story. Like, do you want to be famous for your book, so people to know about you and your book? Yes, you do. And so there's many different levels of success that authors can aim for, right? And I think that the publisher can play a big part in that journey. I'll show you a video halfway through today. That way, you don't have to listen to me all the way through, but hell, I do shows, right? It's rare that I get to speak for a whole hour by myself, but I always look forward to the experience because I like the idea. Can I talk for an hour? Of course I can. With that note, yeah, I've got notes though. But I can talk for a whole hour. LinkedIn user. Now I'm forced to go and see who LinkedIn user is because LinkedIn user has a book, and I think we should go. We ought to go and check out LinkedIn user's book, but I need to know who LinkedIn user is first. Why is my LinkedIn page frozen? Okay, okay. Suddenly, my LinkedIn events page is still working, but I can't see who LinkedIn user is. LinkedIn user, please now tell us who you are. I love the title of your book. I love the well kept woman. You say, right? Stop it, Jay. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Yeah. Look, I'm just glad to have a camera that works, Jay. Nice. Anyway, look, the well kept woman. You can see the link there. So again, go and check it out on Amazon. I think it was. I have no idea what we're going to find, but I'll certainly take a look. And I guess the simple idea is this: I love authors. I love people who take the time to create genius, and then create the genius in their heads. And then you turn that genius into a product, into a physical thing that people can read and learn from. That is all genius. So that's truly what I think authors do. Every author is a gift to the world. Well, suddenly it comes across my mind that many people write. Many people in the US alone, there's probably 3 million books released or published every year, just in the US. Think of the rest of the world, right? 3 million in the US every year. Every year. So next year there'll be 6 million new books. Year after there'll be 9 million. You get the idea, right? And your book has to stand out amongst those millions of books. And again, when I say stand out, I don't necessarily mean stand out in terms of I was wondering already. I was wondering why my chat suddenly started crashing. Okay, right. I'll come back to you in a second, Aurelia. So now, if you think they say, given that there's 3 million books in the US alone every year that's published, let's face it, my friends. Many of those books are going to be terrible, bad in that they're badly written, the concept is poor, and they won't sell. Is that a problem? No, of course not. Of course not. Now, again, just know, let's be sensible here. Think about the reality for humanity and books. Over the generations, many millions of books exist. How many of them are good, as far as you're concerned, right? Think about it, right? And then you realize creating mediocre books is par for the course. If someone says your book is terrible, thank them. Hopefully they've actually read the book, but to be able to comment like that, and if they have read the book, hopefully they bought the book, which means at least you get some royalties. In which case, they're entitled to comment as they wish, right? But many books are not very good. That's a fact. Again, all of that has to do with our topic today, right? What do authors do? What do publishers do? Do you need us? Do we need authors? So again, I'll answer the simple question. Of course, publishers need authors. We love to work with authors. Of course we do. And of course, publishing has changed. We talk about traditional publishers still. In other words, there's publishing houses, the big ones, the ones that pay you for the rights for your book, and then they'll publish your book. That's a whole different world to what we now call hybrid publishers, like moi, like me. Hybrid publishers, we're smaller. We're not going to pay you for your book. If anything, you're going to pay us for our expertise to make your book happen, right? But I think that equation, the fact that you have to pay us for what we do for you, creates a different dynamic in our relationship, in our goals, right? I'm not going to spend any time at all today bashing traditional publishers. If you can get there, good for you. If you get to a stage where you're being paid to write your book, I tell you, not really. That success for you, my friend. Really. I mean, there are some downsides, but let's leave that alone. I'm not really bothered by those. I'm more interested in the other options. The other options being go DIY, publish your book yourself, and all that comes with it. Of course, there is the other side of there's the last option. It's not the last one. I'm sure there's other options, right? But the other main options that an author has today is to work with a small publisher, whether you call us independent publishers or hybrid publishers. Then that's what we are, right? We exist for a reason. Again, a hybrid publisher is nothing more than a publisher who does the things traditional publishers do, minus some of the constraints. Basically, when you come to me, there are things I can do for you that you don't necessarily want to do for yourself. And there are things I know that you don't necessarily know, especially if you're a newbie author. I spend all my days on books. And this morning I was about to say I was doing layout for one of my next client's book, and one of our books went to the editor yesterday, for example. So my life is it's a constant. What to call it? Right? No, it's not merry-go-round. My life is a constant book party is what I call it. It's a joy. It really is. I'd rather be where I am today than where I was, where you don't know where your next penny is coming from. You're not really helping anyone. Whereas now I have a lot of books to publish, a lot of books to write, a lot of books to market, including bestsellers. So Yeah, don't be surprised if if we don't get 3 books out, published and best and launched in the next few weeks. That's a plan for sure, and that's just some of this year's work. So there's many more in the pipeline. Aurelio, let me Jay, thank you for your kind words. You know what, Jay? When you have an HD camera, you suddenly realize that they can see everything. Yesterday, I was sitting there going, "Oh, where's that spot come from? Where's that spot come from?" I didn't know they were there. And then before I was about to start the show today, I realized I had any mark on my t-shirt. You know, I call it an any mark because this thing seems to be on all my t-shirts. It's a haunting thing, right? And I tell you what it is. Vape juice is called vape juice, right? Vape juice. So I've got a vape machine. There you can see that. All right, let's test it. See, this HD camera thing, it puts everything in focus, very quickly, right? That's a vape machine, and these things leak. They leak, right? They leak. They can leak at any moment, and I tend to have oil, which is vape juice, that drips onto me somehow. Would I think of it or not? And then sometimes it comes off when you wash your clothes. Other times it doesn't, and it requires a few more washes. But now you can, everyone can see everything. Well, my grey hairs. I had to shave my hair today to make sure you didn't see my grey hairs, right? No, but HD cameras, they're beautiful things, Jay. They make us look much, much better. I agree. This one's going to be even better when I have to control it. I think the sound can be better, the picture can be better, and even the reason I got it really, apart from the fact that it works, is it's meant to give you depth, so I don't look so close to the screen. Which is the problem of the other cameras I've used. Let's talk about Aurelio's point, and then I'll come back to what publishers do and why authors need good publishers. And there's many words there, right? Good publishers. Right. Cool. That's pretty harsh, Aurelio. Every 3.5 minutes, someone with diabetes loses a limb in the US. Wow. That's drastic, right? Approximately 160,000 people suffer from, have diabetes-related amputations every year, and many are potentially preventable. Yeah, okay, yeah. I don't know whether you work in diabetes prevention, my friend. So there are stark figures. Of course, they are. When amputation is the extreme end of diabetes, I guess. Well, that's apart from the inevitable demise of the person. But it changes lives, right? Yeah, and someone's got to do the work. Someone's got to talk about it because a lot of people have diabetes these days or put themselves at risk, and it's not. I'm fascinated by the fact it's not a weight thing necessarily. It is. Some people have fat around the organs and they're skinny. How odd is that, right? And they end up with diabetes. Anyway, it's a topic that needs more exploration. Aurelia, if you work in that field, come and share with our friends what we're missing, right? Bring your genius. Hopefully, if that's your thing, or let me say right. The best amputation is the one that never has to happen. I agree. Prevention begins before the wound appears. If you're interested in learning more practical strategies for diabetic amputation prevention, I invite you to join us. Dr. Aurelio, that's why. So this is your thing. Register here. Okay. There's a link in the comments, Dr. Aurelio. You can see, this is your comments is way too long for restream. If you want to just copy, just put the register link by itself, and I can show you that because This at the moment, this is where the Restream has cut off your comments. I can see the rest, but no one else can see the rest unless you go to the event page or to the comment section of the event page, right? Dr. Shola, how are you? Yeah, I'm looking at your book. This is Shola's book, right? Camera, yeah, come on, camera. There you go. See, look at that. You can actually see it, right? Thank God it's Friday. Yes. Well, thank God it's Friday goes, it goes with poets for that. Shola, of course it does, right? Yes, it's an amazing book. I have actually read the book. Yeah, you'd be surprised. Yeah, I love how you explain. I love how you tell the story, in a day by day fashion. So we can almost walk with you through the moments as they happen. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, connect with Shola. Otherwise, now put the link for your book in the comments, please. If anyone's interested, they can go and buy it. Right, and it's well worth buying. Look, I was, let me get back to my point. Otherwise, we'll be here forever, right? Okay, all right. Look, I'm at your service, is what I'll say, right? So Dr. Aurelia says, I'm a quadruple board certified podiatric physician and surgeon with over 35 years of experience in diabetic limb preservation and amputation prevention. My work focuses on identifying patients at risk before a wound level. Look, if a wound develops, sorry. Look, I'm more than understanding. You say I grew up in a medical family, and uncles and aunts who are doctors, and my wife is she's a nurse essentially. She works more. She runs care homes more these days. Oh no, camera, where have you gone? Why have you gone, camera? Where have you gone? Why has my camera suddenly gone to pot? I have no idea where the camera's gone. Right. Oh. I don't know what to do now. I'm totally stumped. I'm genuinely stumped. Do I? Oh, it might have to be a return job for this camera, right? I have no idea why I suddenly lost its eyes and its face. Right. Now you're facing my ceiling, which you don't need to be facing. You're only facing here, right? You see, the weird thing is that there's nothing I can do about it. It is HD, or it's AI, so it moves itself. Anyway, Annie has saved the day. Dr. Aurelio, hopefully you've written a book about, I guess, the limbs issue and the amputation issues in diabetes. I'm stunned by the camera now, but let's not worry about that. Let's crack on. Right. Let me show you a quick video, which I'm hoping will show you that there are good and not so good when it comes to publishing. Like I say, I'm not here to beat up on traditional publishers today. I can do that on many other days. But no, so let's look at some of the truths about self-publishing, and then it gives me a context then to sort of talk about what it is we do. So Aurelia says, yes, it's written a book. I'm excited for you, my friend. I'm excited. Shala, I'm ignoring you for now. I'll come back to you. Let's watch this 3-minute video. It's 3 minutes, a bit more than 3 minutes. So let's watch the video and then we can talk properly afterwards. Ooh. Okay, so now I need to go to my YouTube apparently, which is a whole different tab or a different window completely. Right. Restream, you're so slow. Why are you so slow, Restream? Restream, come on. I don't know why my screen is not doing. Okay, so that was me. Are you going next? You're not going to go. I'll finish my show in about an hour. You want to go there? Okay. And Mm. Okay, now you follow it. Okay. I'm sure you get the rough idea. Right. This camera suddenly seems to be alive now. Literally, I can't get away from it, which is fine. I'll take it. I'll take it. How you doing, Miss Margaret? It's great to have you here, of course, always. No, is the audio back on? Hopefully, the audio's back on again. Hopefully, you can hear me again now, right? Yeah. Now the image. I don't know. Yeah, I'm moving. There's a problem with Restream. I don't know what it is. It seems we're going very very slowly, but it's cool. I do keep moving, so now you can see I do move all the time, and so there's this camera that keeps following me. When I move my head, the camera sort of moves as well. Right there, you go. Let me talk to it. Does it flash? It hasn't flashed yet. Right. You can see me, camera. You can. Okay. Fine. Please yourself. Hand gestures and cameras and gimbals, right? Anyway, Miss Margaret, welcome to Miss Margaret just released her book, so her guides and workbook. You've got parenting, teens guide and workbook. I'm so glad you're here. Right. Shall I look? I will always shine the light on the stars. And your book is amazing. I'm not gonna hide it. I can explain is what the letters stand for. Yeah, I think that is so marketable. Look, hopefully, the video did justice to what I'm trying to get across today. Right? There's many good parts to publishing your book yourself. The important thing I think my friend said is you need a partner. You need a partner. You need someone else on your side who can help you. Someone who understands what you're trying to achieve. Someone who understands the publishing industry, the book business. Now, this room is called Book to Business for a reason, right? Because it is a business to make money from books. That's just fact. I don't know why am I only partly on the screen? I don't understand. I could just put myself across the whole screen, right? I think. Let me see. Yeah, Restream, you're not helping at all. I try to put myself on big screen, but Restream's not doing that for me. Let me sort out the background. Right. So I'm not. I'm not. Oh, okay. My bad. All right. So I know how to make myself on big screen now. So I suddenly remembered. And he suddenly remembers, and he can do things like this, which is make himself go big. I can do to my friends, right? Michael's joined the studio as well. Welcome, Michael. So glad you're here. I'm just adding you to my screen. I don't want to do it that way. I want to now Michael's here. Let's put Michael on equal footing. So I want to hear what Michael has to say. Michael, how are you doing? I think you're muted, so but I can't hear you. No, Michael. No, we lost Michael. Okay. Now, hopefully, you come back again and say, that the problems that we have with Restream these days, is there a problem with Restream, or is it a problem with the streaming platforms as a whole? Michael, I put you back in. I put you back. Can you hear me, Michael? Michael, I can't hear you until you say something, my friend. I'm a bit stuck. All right. You're unmuted, so see if that works. Michael, look, when I entered the chat, I turned off voice and video in the settings. Right. You see, to participate in an event, whether it's live stream or audio, you need to put something on. You need to put I didn't know you were going to ask me to talk out loud. Look, I'm not going to force you to talk, Michael. If you want to share something with us, then please feel free. They can't see you, so but I think you're welcome to sit there and just observe. But if you have something to say, then feel free. Just chime in, and I will hopefully hear you enough to leave you, to give you the mic and let you carry on. Right? Okay, Michael. So now, welcome on stage anyway. So now you're here, so you might as well say something as well. I'll say to you, but we can always cross that bridge later, right? My friends, so let me get back to the points that my friend made, right? So now the key thing really is that every author needs a partner on the side. See, when I ask myself, what do we really do for our author friends as publishers? I guess let me start with what we're trying to achieve. I think that's important. I think the author and the publisher are trying to achieve pretty much the same things, but a publisher has a slightly different agenda. See, as a publisher, the one thing that I want, maybe I might say that there's three things, 3 or 4 things that I think I want from my authors. I want from us working together, right? And of course, there's things I bring. When our friend says the partner bit, there's things that we bring to the partnership. It's an author publisher relationship. You look at it as an author, a publisher client relationship. Really, if you wanted to, of course you can. Because you are paying. I get to that in a second, right? See, what we really want as publishers is, number one, for you to write a good book. Start there, right? I want you to write and publish a great book. What's a great book? I mentioned that earlier. A great book is a book that looks good, is well written, and the people that you write the book for love the book. It's all of that. So we want books that sell. You can publish your own book, of course you can. But if I publish your book, I want your book to sell, because my success is based on your success. I dream of making all my clients #1 bestsellers, and so thankfully 100% of the time, all the clients I've ever worked with on the bestseller campaign, which we guarantee, has achieved #1 bestseller. It meant 99% of them have achieved international #1 international bestsellers, #1 across different countries. Again, look, I take the bestseller badge as recognition that your book is a good book, because people have bought it in enough numbers for your book to be top of the pile on Amazon in the 24-hour period in the categories that we choose for you. You know, so that's what makes publishers tick. They say, well, we want you to write a great book. We want you to sell loads of books. You know, every time someone sees your book, they see our name, right? And success, right? You know, so that's the primary thing. You know, how does that fit in with self-publishing? Look, in reality, many authors, many people write books, and those books don't sell. You know, so of course, our friend did say that you don't have to sell a lot of books. What's a lot of books? You know, we live in a world where many authors sell less than 10 copies of their books ever. Think of that. You know, many authors sell around 250 copies of their book maximum. You know, it's all right saying the average authors, the average number, the average author sells X number of books. That doesn't really tell you much, right? Because if J.K. Rowling is selling millions of books and you're selling 3, you're going to be the average, which is an inflated number, right? As I can't even work it out in my head. You know, literally say, you know, millions and gazillions, and you're 3 divided by 2 authors who give you a very high number. So we can't really use average as the yardstick. But let me tell you, many authors don't sell 1,000 books. You know, but I want my authors to sell 5,000 books minimum each. You make money, your investment in my services have been worthwhile, you know, and hopefully you get to write another book that we can work with you on as well, right? Michael, you make me laugh. But you always brighten my day, Michael. So I'm glad. I'm always glad you're here. You found the main chat. Yes, this is the main chat. The other one is a private chat, which normally gives me a headache. But I had to see what you were saying. Anyway, you know, you joined the studio, Michael. You didn't die, right? You know, you joined the studio and your world didn't blow up. I'm saying, yeah, it's doable, Michael. It's doable. Keith, how you doing, my friend? You know, it's a long time. Great to see you, of course. I'm glad you're here. Have you written that book yet, Keith? I don't know. You know, let's talk about it, right? Okay, so I've mentioned our intentions, which is to help you to get that book done, to get a great book done, and to sell a great book. You know, part of what my friend was saying in terms of having a partner is the need for authors to invest even when you're self-publishing. In other words, many people will self-publish to save money, right? They want to save money. I don't want to pay publisher. Fair enough. No, especially if it's your first book and that's not very good. But then again, if you want to write a good book, invest your money. You pay a publisher for expert services. And if you come to me, then you realize I'm not going to publish your book unless our editor works on it. You see, that quality thing is what separates publishers from everyone else in the world that authors live in, right? As a publisher, I want you to have a great book. What I don't want is for anyone to open your book that we've published for you and start seeing typos and start seeing mistakes and they walk away saying this is a badly written book. The cover design is terrible. It looks childish. It's all of that. We want you to have a quality book, and that's why. So we have the experts that you need. So my editor is my right hand person in terms of if you don't get past my editor, I'm never going to publish your book. Maybe that's a bit harsh. If you say any look, I really insist I may be a whore and dance for your money, right? Really, but unlikely. I want your book to be good, and an editor has to have a look at it and work with you to finalize the book. Similarly, your cover design matters. It matters to me. I care. I want you to have a decent cover, right? Again, you're gonna have to invest some money, either as part of our agreement or as an add-on, where we could create a cover that is worthy of your book. A lot of people, they'll come to me with a basic cover design idea, and it's not going to resonate. It doesn't look good. It looks weak, and I would normally take the time to sit with them and argue about it. This cover design is not good enough. You know, whether you like it or not, I like people on covers. I like people related to people, to humans on book covers, right? So when someone comes to me with abstract weirdism, not all abstract design is bad, by the way. I'm just saying there's just a way that your cover design should resonate with your readers. So a publisher will stick to their guns and say, right, let's look at your cover design again. Let's look at it. Because we have to get to a stage where I'm happy to put my name behind that cover design, and you're happy that the cover design represents you. This is not an argument about whether the publisher is going to take over your book. We're not. It's not that. We just want you to have the best book possible. Of course, our friends, I might say our friend in the video, he mentioned editing. I keep saying it for a reason. Editing is what people who self-publish don't do. It's not because they don't do it. They do it, but you can't. Maybe you can't do it. You can't do it. You can't edit your book in a way that is professional. Yeah. Yes, I just said that. Don't be a hater. Don't be saying that again. But I can. You can't. You really can't. I've never seen a book that was self-published that doesn't contain mistakes. Maybe they're intentional mistakes. I'm saying, but literally, we have a saying: you can't see the woods for the trees, especially in a forest. Do you know what that means? Yeah, hopefully you understand what that analogy refers to, right? You can't see your mistakes because you have so many words on the page. You've been looking at these words forever. You've been looking at this. Well, you wrote them, and you see what happens. When you go to edit, you wrote the words. You believe the words are correct. So you're not going to see where it doesn't make sense. You're not going to see where there's typos. You're not going to see where there's inconsistencies. This is why we have editors. And many people are always surprised when I tell them, you might find that the editing takes longer to do than the writing. But as a publisher, that is part of the course, because by the time the book comes to me to do the layout and publish, I know that the book is it's correct. There's no blatant errors. Your story flows. The way your characters work. And your book works. So the publisher will bring you the editor. There's many self-publishers will try and, I don't know, they try and cheat that stage. You can't cheat that stage. You can't cheat that stage, right? So bringing the professionals is what the publisher will do. Yes, it's going to cost you a little more money in the scheme of things. Again, people think as a publisher, all I do is Just throw the book up on Amazon? No, of course not. Look, we design books. We design books. Some authors know how to design the book. So by the time it comes to me, it's halfway there. It's most of the way there. But as a publisher, I want to fix your book. I want to fix it in the layout, the pages as you want them, the headings as you want them. I want everything as we want it, right? Every word is in the right place. It's where you want it, where we want it to be. See, I've seen people, and I see this every day. And I think, oh no, I'll do it myself. And then suddenly they throw a document up on Amazon, not realizing that to publish a book, there's criteria you must meet. Criteria, there's a criteria for print books. For Amazon to print a book, you must have 24 internal pages. Yeah, so again, we have people every day to meet that number one, and at the other end, we help people to cut down the books that are just way too big. Now, this is all part of the course. How you doing, Lachelle, American Supermom, superstar, true superstar? I said Lachelle got at least 5 books out, and please do say, if you got a book out, so if you came in late, say, or if you came in later, that's more the word. Please do share the link. Miss Margaret, share the link for your book. Lachelle, share the link. If you want to share the link for any of your books. Jay, share the link for your book as well. Shola, I don't know what you're waiting for. I want you to sell books. So, we need to sell more books, right? So don't be shy, right? The quality thing is an important part of what a publisher will bring for you. Yeah, and don't try and avoid investing in your book because you don't want to spend the money. In the end, it will come back to haunt you. A lot of people end up having to rewrite the book. And again, a good publisher, a good hybrid publisher today is your friend. So if I publish a book and there's a mistake somewhere, I will correct the mistake and republish the book. It doesn't change anything. Right? It's under our control. Of course, some publishers will try to charge you for every change that you want to make. Unnecessary. So a good publisher will be kind to you. So you can you can make changes as you wish. Otherwise, if you're oversights, errors, mistakes, misspellings, rabbit holes, wrong directions, inconsistencies, all the mistakes that all the authors can make. If it is that serious and that high, that many, you might just have to publish a second edition of your book. That's just how it works. Yeah. But the editing part is a really important part. And look, it's even on the layout side. Yeah. Here's a question for you, my friend. Can you tell when a book is self-published? When you look at the bookstores, when you look at books that come in front of you, how they come in front of you, right? Does it look obvious that it's self-published? Sadly, many do. And again, as a publisher, look, we've all tried to do the simple thing: throw up a Word document onto Amazon and say, "There you go. There's my book. Take it." And we've all tried to upload PDFs onto Amazon and say, "There you go." But a good publisher will make your book into a book. Will make your book look good, read well, flow well. But it must look good. So that means that the layout is done correctly. It means the content is, it meets, I guess, the standards that you expect, right? If you look at a book that we publish, we do our best to keep as close to these traditional publishers, as close to the books on your shelves as possible, right? In terms, even how chapters start, which paragraph on a page has indents. I know, I can hear you thinking, if you're gonna have indents or you're not. That's not how it works. There's customs that publishers use. There's so many simple ways to tell whether a book is self-published or whether it's published by someone who is, remotely close to being a publisher. So to get all those different nuances, you're gonna have to work with a publisher. Can you do all those things by yourself? Of course you can. Do people do those things by themselves? They don't. That's the problem. So like I say, I'm not here to hammer anyone or to necessarily oversell what we do. But the quality is part of the process for us. It's part of the goal. It's part of what we need to help you sell books in the end, right? My next point is about accountability. Here's the point. How many times do you hear people say, I'm going to write a book? They tell you all about the book. I'm going to have it done by, they might even give you a month, a year. They might even say that by Christmas, by my birthday, by the Queen's birthday, when the sky turns pink. Yeah. And it might look, I'm being facetious, right? But the point is, many people never get to write that book. Many people who are self-publishing never get to write a book. I see it every day. I got people who are finishing a book last summer. People are finishing a book last October, last November, last Christmas. And for every one of them, I said to them, you are not going to finish this book. Not in the time that you think anyway. And surprise, surprise, I haven't. Again, I'm not here to beat them up. Literally, writing a book and publishing a book is not easy, right? If you have a publisher, especially if you have any, I will chase you down. I will keep you on track. I will be bothered. I'll hold you accountable is a point, right? The reason to say I care so much about you finishing your book is so that the book can get out on the market. What's the point of having an idea for a book? And what's the point in spending hours writing stuff and then no one ever gets to see it? So as a publisher, I will hold you accountable. I will call you, I will nag you, I will make you finish that book. Because especially if you've paid me. I mean, what can be worse than me knowing that you paid me and your book's not out? It will kill me, literally. This is why I have 7. I say I've got 3 books coming. It's in the next few weeks. Because as a publisher, I'll say to you, this book has to be finished. You can't hide from me. You can try and be. People try to be lazy. See, when someone's looking at you, holding you accountable, there's more chance to actually finish what you say you do, right? Whereas when many self-publishers, they never finish because they're not accountable, and in the end they let themselves down. They don't put the work in, don't put the time in. A good publisher will make you put the time in, because I can't afford to have you and your book hanging around when I've got other books to do. But that accountability partner is really important. I say that I'm well aware that someone that I'm thinking of, Jay, for example. Jay had many accountability partners for his book, his storytelling book, and in the end, those people help. So you can get your own, but a publisher is much more hawkish about finish that book, we need to get that book done and launched and out and selling. All right. So I mentioned the quality thing that we do, the goals for you, it's the goals for you to create a great book. I've mentioned the accountability that publishers bring to the equation. I guess I think one of the things that people don't see that publishers bring is saving you time. It must be obvious from what I've said so far that if you have a partner in a publisher who's really on your side, in small publishers, we tend to be on your side because we love you, we like you, we want to finish your book. Like you're the one paying us, right? So we have to know we will do what it takes to get your book done. That means if I'm doing all that, if we're taking over, if we're looking after your, if we're helping with the writing, which we do, I say help, it's a service. So we write books and probably write more books now than we ever have, which is why it takes longer to see my books than you've been seeing lately, right? Because a book will take a good part of a year to write. So we'll help you write your book. We'll help you finish your book. In other words, editing, proofreading. We'll help you package your book in terms of all the sections are done, all the information you need. Do you need someone to write your foreword, or are you going to write a preface? I'm saying these are choices you have to make, right? So we will do all those things for we'll collect we'll collect everything we need to have a full manuscript, which is the pre-stage before it becomes a book. So if I'm doing all that for you, my friend, it means you've got time to go and do other things. What I wanted to do with that time, of course, is think about the marketing, begin to plan about who's going to buy your book, because marketing will come down to you in the end. You are the author; it's your book. Traditional publishers used to market. How am I going to say this right? The big traditional publishers, people think if I go to the big one, then they will sell my book. They won't. They could. They sell for some. So let me try and break that down a bit, right? Look, if you are with a traditional publisher, the ones who pay you to write your book, the ones who pay you in advance, right? Now, those big companies, they will choose 3 or 4 books a year to promote, to put all the budget into, to put all the money into, and to sell for the authors. Now, who's going to be in that 3 or 4 books? Think about it, right? So again, one of the things big publishers have, many have a network of readers. Just think about it. HarperCollins. Of course, they've got to read the people who read their book. That could be because of the authors they have. That could be because of the genres they work in. That could be for any reason. But they've got their own readers, right? So they can market your book to their readers. But like I said, 96% of authors not going to get a look in when it comes to your publisher marketing your book, because that's not their thing, right? That's not their thing. And it's like I said, they could sell your book, they won't. So as soon as your book is born, I use those words deliberately. As soon as you give birth to your book, we'll create it, we'll launch it, and it's out there. Your job for life is to sell that book, market that book, get yourself out there talking about your book, get yourself in places. Can you do it yourself? Yes, you can, but it's a lot of work. Is it easier if you let someone else do it who actually does marketing? Yes. Again, look, many authors, they're one or the other. They're good writers, or they are good marketers. What we don't get very often is the one person who's a 2, right? The one person who is a good writer who loves marketing. But you're gonna have to learn. You're gonna have to learn. If you're gonna do it yourself, then you do it yourself. I don't mind. So, but my friends, they will soon experience my passion for selling books. You see, I always tell my friends, whatever you do, you need to work out what your clients really want. What we do is the only one part of what our clients want. Take it from me, right? Again, as a publisher, yes, people want me to publish it, to put a book on Amazon or on the other bookstores. But in truth, what people really want me to do is make sure the book gets finished to a high quality, and to make sure they actually sell books. They make money from selling books. The money, the selling books part is what authors really want. But many authors will have, what to call it? It's some sort of PTSD. That's what it is, right? It's PTSD. Because they write a book, it didn't sell. They write another one, and before it's even published, they'll tell themselves, this is not going to work anyway. Why bother? But I'm still going to write and publish it anyway, right? But I'm not going to sell many copies. I'm not going to do, I'm still going to flop like I did last time. You haven't flopped. You just haven't marketed your book enough, right? And say, but we can sell books in many different ways. So look, the hybrid publisher today will tell you a truth that maybe other traditional publishers won't tell you, right? Your book sales, my friends, are online. You can try and put your book into a local bookstore. You can try and do local events. I'm all for those. I really am. Put your book in your local library. Of course you should. I want your local area, your local audience to know who you are, and I know that you're author. Now, again, the question I always ask is, how many of your neighbors know that you're an author? Really? For many of us, 99% of us, our neighbors, our friends don't even know we've got a book. And I don't have that. I refuse to have that. I have people who will say to me, I can't tell my friends and family. I'm like, you are going to tell them. I will make you. If your friends and family are not supporting your book, why should anyone else support your book? So again, this is a publisher hat that I have to wear, right? I want you to sell books, and it starts with those around you. But for the rest of your life, you're gonna have to do your marketing. If you're doing your marketing while trying to write your next book, if you're doing all the little things that need to be done, the editing, the writing, the promotion, the podcasts, the speaking, they're going to events, they're signing up to things online that things like book Goodreads and BookBob, those book readers clubs. It's a lot of time you're going to spend doing what you have to do, and all that time takes away from you writing your next book. A good publisher will make sure that we take the weight off your shoulders. Of course, this is not free. Don't come to me and say, can you do all this for free? No. I will give you the best package I can. Without saying, I'm not saying, I know what I'm trying to say to you. What I'm trying to say to you is that if you come to me and say, right, I want you to help me finish my book, I want you to publish my book, and I want you to help me sell my book. I can either decide to provide each of those services as a separate service, or to give you an overall price, right? So to write your book is X amount, and if you pay that amount, I will do your marketing, and I will do live events with you like these. I will do your email marketing, and so it's part of the package. Or I could charge you and say email marketing is X amount, events are X amount. Why would I do that? No. I say most of my clients that you see, they pay me for doing their book. Now, once we've done your book, I will happily sing and dance for you because I want you to be successful. I'll introduce you to my friends. I will do whatever it takes to get you out there. Yeah, that's what a good publisher will do for you. Lachelle, thank you so much. I do see you. I see your comments. I'm trying. I've clicked on it already. Let's see what that comes up on screen sometime today. Come on, yay! All right. We have a link to Lachelle's book. But Lachelle, you have many books though. But look, check out this one, my friends. Check out this one. Well, I think her boards thing is no. What's that thing we had? No, we're Linktree. That's what I'm thinking. Where you can basically put different things on there. It's not just one thing, right? So go to Lachelle's board, and you see what's there, what books she has. So, Miss Gladys, how are you doing? It's been a hot minute, Miss Gladys. Hopefully, life is treating you good. So glad you're here. Thank you for joining us. Michael, Michael says, between us, no, Mike, yes, Michael, just between us. Now, the rest of the audience, they can't see us, they can't hear us. Those watching on replay can't hear us either, right? I'm not a book writer, but a story writer. Okay, I like that. Maybe someday I'll document things in a book, or someone else will, or they won't. No, look, a good book, again, when you have external eyes on your book, you find ways to improve the book for the reader, right? And this is leading somewhere, my friend. You see, one of the biggest things I see these days, one of the biggest, what to call it? Now, on the one hand, it's a symptom of the challenge of writing a book. Now, writing a book is not easy, right? On the other hand, it's a symptom of people who use AI to write books. In other words, you're going to get bland, generic content. It may make sense, but and it may try to be humanized, but in truth, it's just a boring regurgitation book. See, Michael, the stories we tell in our books is what makes them resonate. Jay certainly agrees with you, I'm sure, right? No, really. It's the stories we tell, the stories that hook people in, that people remember. I'm thinking like even a superstar like Michelle, right? Now apart from her greatness and her media channel, for example, and her podcast, so I'm a Michelle fan all day, every day, right? It's a story of how she overcame depression, how she managed to move forward despite the and maybe is the way she describes still living, still doing. Still, Michelle's got 15 kids, in case you don't know, my friends. And through a lot of that, she was diagnosed with depression, and in my world, I call it locked up. But she has to get treatment. So all of that, it's the stories that we remember, my friends. It's the stories. And anyone who can write a good story is worth their weight in gold. Michael, this is more reason why we should talk. Of course, Jay would agree too. There's a way to tell stories that really that people get, and that get people, right? A good story writer, maybe especially in this age of AI, is so useful. And I love the storytelling mode on many levels. You see, of course, all the things I say today about self-publishing, it affects us as publishers, because we're self-publishing our own books. If you think about it that way, we write books too, and we publish books, but we have, we have the same issues and this self-publishing person has, and being able to tell the story, writing a book from a storytelling perspective, I think is genius, right? How do you tell a story? There's many different ways. So what I'm talking about here is, I would love to write a conversational book. So it's a story of two people talking, or not just talking. They're working through the issues in the book. I've got many books in my mind. If we want to talk about pricing, why just put the models down when you can have two people having a conversation about the issues, about the topics, about the points in pricing, for example. Yeah, I want to say I want to work on a book on how to get unstuck. Again, I love to have a format where someone who's stuck begins to work through the issues with the way that we advise, if that makes sense. With the way that we recommend, the way that the strategies that we use. Again, then there's a way to write that book without just making it sound like, oh yeah, you're stuck. Here's why you're stuck. Here's what you do. The more stories you can add to that, so that that book, the more exciting it will be. Anyway, Michael, no, we should definitely talk for sure, right? Right. So again, so I mentioned how we will hold you accountable. I mentioned how we want you to sell books. I mentioned how we focus on quality as publishers. I mentioned also how we give you time to do more writing and to do life for sure. Again, look, a good publisher will have a network of readers. I mentioned that too. That's how we get our #1 bestsellers. And a good publisher will be obsessed about sales, your sales, your sales. Lachelle, I see what you say, and you're 100% right, Lachelle. Of course you are. Really, a lot of people be spoiled, Lachelle. I don't know why. No. Let me change that. I'm lying to myself. I'm as guilty as anyone. My book's there. Yes, of course, technically, people see that book of mine every day. It makes a difference. But it took one of my co-authors the other day to tell me, Annie, let's do some events around lessons we learned from COVID. Yeah, no, true. No, it's a year. I say what? And I say a year in, a couple of years in now since we probably published a book, and I'm on to the next book already. Like you would be too, like you are. But we need to stop sometime, and we must market. We must give our creation, this thing that we gave birth to, air to breathe, air to live, air to grow. Now, Lachelle says so many people are looking to sell their books and forget about the simple power of the unique message. I tell you, it's all of that, right? Again, this might take me back to the point about time, Lachelle, right? Because as I say, you have to sell your book. At the same time, you have to refine your strategy. You have to apply your strategies in real life. Because there's no point writing a great idea in a book and that you never implement. So you have to make the time to do the day job, as I said earlier, right? And the day job, if it's connected to your book, has to be about, I guess, clarifying and serving with your unique message. That's the day job, and that we have to do every day. If we don't practice what we preach, what's the point? But I think the more you practice, the more you realize that there's much more that you can do, much more that maybe you need to learn, much more that you can do to impact people. The simple thing on paper in reality is a whole different ballgame. That's why I say to people, don't come to me unless you have a genius solution that you've tried, that you've tested, that you've implemented, that's changing lives. That's when I want to talk to you. If you come to me because you have an idea, how do we know your idea works? Yeah. So maybe part of what I'll do as a publisher is make you have those self-awareness conversations, those introspection, those truth to self conversations. I mean, it's necessary, right? And I say on something like unique message. Again, a publisher resonates. Those words mean something to a publisher, right? Because if you haven't got a unique message, why would anyone want to buy your book? How's your book any better or different to other books? It's all of that together that say publishers want to help people with. Yeah. Look, the marketing part is really important. Again, there's different levels of publishers, hybrid publishers, right? Some just want to take your money and throw your book on Amazon. But how many other platforms are there to publish your book? Hundreds, thousands of platforms, but the main ones we know.
No, Lululemon is always one of the Lulu. Yeah, that's one of them. What's the other ones? Amazon is another one. Apple, Google, Kobo, the distributors, Ingram Sparks. I could carry on. There's many more. There's many publishing places that you can go and maybe ought to go. Well, self-publishers will tend to put their book in one place where it's easiest for them to put their book. And then they must forget to market it. That's what we're saying, Michelle. You can't forget to market your book. I'm saying, yeah, you want to sell books, but yeah, you look at your book as a business card. It opens doors, right? Opens doors for you to serve with your unique message. So you to apply your unique message, your unique talents, your unique gifts. That's what your book is like. So it might be you want to create a coaching business. It might be that you want to create a public speaking business. But either way, never forget your unique message. Don't forget what you bring to the table, what other authors have not brought to the table. Now, what do you know that others don't know? What works for you and your target audience that you're here to serve? That's your remit. See, as publishers, we do our best to keep with you and to make all that happen. The more of the load we can take off you, the better. Again, so many good publishers have a platform. It's easy to build a platform online these days. Easier. It's not easy. It's easier. So I'm blessed that I spent time with authors, all of you. So I spent time with people who support authors. That's my blessing in life. I realize that's why I do what I do the way I do these days. Everything I do is pretty much aligned to what authors want and what authors need. So we'll help you write your book. We'll help you structure your book. We'll help you make your book happen. We'll publish your book, and then we'll help you become seen and known, liked and trusted, and we'll help you sell more books. That is a whole client base which I'll never get tired of serving, because I think you're all geniuses, and where we can add something that takes a load off you and adds to your magic, then we're more than happy to do that. But look, hybrid publishing, again, it's simply down to you pay us for services and our time and our care, our commitment to the cause, your cause. That's what you're paying the publisher for, really. And self-publishing is not about cutting costs the way people think. Even if you do your book yourself, you're gonna have to do all these things by yourself and learn some lessons. Maybe that's a book you want to write. The reality of self-publishing my book. I wonder. Anyway, life is good. Life is good, right? Look, I was saying, I know our time's just gone over, so I don't want to let you go. So I'm going to a family barbecue, so I'm told. So, right. I wonder if it's a 4K that's making my camera and my screen a bit skew with. I'll try it out. I'll try it out because it works. It works perfectly on Zoom. So I don't know what gives on, right? Right. let me talk to Michael for a second. Yeah. No, it's not Zoom. I said Restream is just weird. So Michael says, I meant more. I haven't reached my destination, so I can't start writing things down to book format because I'm still en route type thinking. Michael, that sounds admirable, but you're not. You know enough for people to learn from you. So let me give you a what should I call it? I guess a way to look at this. Just one way, right? all of us here have said, I don't know enough, I haven't got, or I don't have enough to write a book. But the day you commit to share your knowledge with this, with the target audience, again, as a publisher, we can work with you to work out what is your unique message, as Lachelle mentioned earlier, right? And you find out that you have a unique message, even if you're just refining it, where you have a message. Yeah, and you can write a book, Michael. There's a book in everyone. You know enough to influence someone's life. You know enough to help someone learn something, with what to do or what not to do, maybe both. Yeah. So don't keep kidding yourself that you don't know that you're on your journey. We're all on our journey. Are we going to learn more as time goes? Yes, of course. Michael, stop it, Michael. I've got kids. Of course, I've got kids, and as I spend my days now, with my youngest now, he's 17 as we speak, right? We're just doing driving lessons, so most of my days, almost every day, I have to give a couple of hours to get sit in the car. Sometimes doing what we do, right? Look, this is why we have publishers, Michael. Publishers, so we'll plan a structure. We'll plan the structure. Now, maybe this is why self-publishers often don't finish a book themselves, at least the first time, right? So there's a process to write a book. A publisher will tell you what that process is. Some people want to write the book as and when. That's not how you're writing. You're not going to write a book that way. As a publisher, I'll tell you straight. If you want to write a book, get serious, dedicate time to it, put it into your life. Put your writing into your life, right? Look, every day we have 24 hours. Michael, what do you do in your 24 hours, my friend? How does your day start? What's minute one? What do you do after an hour? What do you do in the second hour, third hour, fourth hour? I'm saying this is the times where we schedule our system. We'll build a system. So when I wake up at night, I do my whatever that is, right? To get myself ready, I'm moving, and then after that, my first hour after that is really about building my business. I wonder what business tasks do I have to do. So if you're not building your business tasks, revenue generating tasks, then you're not going to generate revenue, right? Michael, I don't want to beat you up too much, Michael. Right? You got a book in you. Let's get out work. Let's work out what the book is. Let's work out what it is. The word, as God has given you a gift to come and deliver to the world. And then we can work out how to write the book. You can write a book easily. If you've got someone helping you. If you're doing it all by yourself, instead of trying to do it ad hoc, it's not going to happen. As a publisher, I will give you a system. I'll get your book written. Even if it's only about half an hour a day that you write, you'd be amazed what you can do in half an hour a day. As long as you keep to the schedule, you will get there. And that's how books are written, and that's what I would tell my friends. That's what I do when I help people write the book. Literally every day, I'm doing a book. I'll do a bit. Some days I might do 20 minutes, some days I might do 2 minutes. Other days I might do 3 hours. But if you have a regular system, then then the book, you can see progress over time. The problem is that most people who self-publish, this is why they don't finish their books. They will get derailed by life. They miss a few days here, miss a few days there. It's like, oh, I'm so far behind. You're not far behind. You're where you are. Right? Work for it. Now, Lachelle says your book is usually about something you've learned or overcome. Exactly that. It is non-fiction. I totally agree with you. I say some of the best books these days are, do we call them memoirs? I call them life stories. What have you seen? What have you experienced? Some people a lot of people write the book from pain to purpose, from trauma to finding a way to help others what they've been through. So I definitely agree with you there, Michelle. But again, it's part of my role as a publisher is to work with you to really unpick those moments, unpick the lessons that you've learned, and then work out how do we take the readers back to those moments? How do we take the readers to see what you see? I mentioned your last book earlier, I can explain book, and it is the fact that she's written a book almost like a diary. It's like a dear diary book, right? That book. It's a lovely looking book, right? It's written more like every day, so every day, every week, so you can see, how it goes. And Michelle, I agree with you. Again, there's many ways to write a book, right? And Michelle, I don't do the sit down and write in that way. The sit down and write to me is record. It's not even on video record. I think record your book on audio. And no, Michelle, this is what I do every day. So I got many clients whose books we're writing. I meet with them. We have a conversation about what our next chapter is, and then I let them tell me the stories, and then I ask questions where I can see there are gaps. And as you were saying, I should transcribe those, and then once we have the words on paper, then we're going to edit what we have until we're happy with that section, right? But I think that talking your book is the best thing you can do for yourself, because number one, you get richer content. When we're trying to write, we're thinking many things. We're thinking, I don't want to make a mistake. I have to be perfect. And then we're trying to find the right words, and then we're trying to tell the right stories. See, whereas when you're doing it verbally, life is so much easier. You say more, you think more, you're clear about what you're thinking, and it all comes out, right? And so I'm a great fan of record, transcribe. I really am. You can probably write a book quicker than AI if you record and transcribe. You'd be amazed how many pages you can get in an hour of you talking. And that's an hour and 40 minutes of me talking today. It's probably going to be something like 45 pages. So all I'm say, and I do record every event. So now what I do have to do is essentially go away, trying to transcribe it, and then tidy up what I have transcribed. My brother Cyrus is here. Cyrus, this camera is here, but I'm having all sorts of problems. I don't know what's going on. No, and I'll call you afterwards, Cyrus. So we need to talk, because I'm having software issues, device issues, and blah, 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 blah. I don't know whether it's 4K that's making me frozen, but you can see me clearly, Cyrus, right? You can see me. Yay. He smiles at himself. Anyway, I'm glad you're here, my friend. So thank you for joining us. Look, Cyrus and I, we are working on, we've always been working on the idea that there's a book in you. So let me play that video now that you're here, Cyrus. If Restream lets me, I've clicked for the videos to come up. Anyway, so Cyrus, I can't find there's a book in you. What's that? I have no idea what that is. I will find there's a book in you. No, I don't think that's anything to do with us. Anyway, I can't find it right now, Cyrus. I don't know what's happened. Maybe someone moved it off my restream. But there is a book in you. That's another part of the expertise I forgot to mention today. So when I'm marketing, said again, as a publisher, I've got the right friends. Cyrus is one of those right friends that we have. Cyrus is, he does podcasting. He helps you create your podcasts. Imagine people hearing your voice every day. Imagine people hearing your message every day. It takes time, but podcasting is something that we can all do. It's a good way to share your unique message. It's a good way to reach, truly, thousands of people. And the last time I did podcasting, we're talking about nearly 300,000 people listen to the podcast in less than 2 months. I'm saying, what could that do for your book? What could that do for you, for your brand, for you being heard, you being seen? So having friends like Cyrus, definitely helps because we can move our author friends forward, much quicker, much quicker. You're right. I tell you, Michael, isn't that the truth? But there's no need, So I'm waiting for my restream is very, very slow. Right, Michael, I agree with you. Michael says, you can write a book. You can write a full book per day. If you speak it out loud. I agree. Totally, no, I agree. The problem for me is that we are trying to create that rich content, right? And then, so it's about making sure the stories that we're telling help our readers understand what we're really saying and what is going on in our lives, and in our minds, So recording the content, yeah, that's part one. The next part is transcribing it is normally easy. It's a tidying and the editing that takes time. Yolanda, I see you. How you doing, my superstar friend? Yolanda's book is next. So it's gone to the editor yesterday. So I mentioned that. And so Yolanda's a nice book. Once a week, so literally once a week for a good few months to get through all the chapters, fill in the gaps. And now we have a book. But it's taken both of us to work on the content, on the transcribing and the tidying and the cleaning up, right? Literally it's taken us a year. I think we started last July. And so the book is finally almost ready to go. And so I guess now with Yolanda, you'll see what Annie does, because now you're going to start seeing Yolanda in places everywhere. I'm telling Yolanda now that what you can't tell me when I speak to her later. Oh, but I say this every time I speak to her. I'm saying you're gonna have to show up, and she's like, "I'm not shy, Annie." I'm like, "Yes, you're not shy. But you're gonna have to show up and talk and talk and talk and talk and make friends, make real friends." Anyway, there's much to do. Transcribing is a way forward. It's the way I do it every time, right? It really is. Mr. Cyrus, you're far too kind. Right. I love how everything just takes so many years to work. I've clicked, I'm standing back. Yeah, and now still nothing's happened. Cyrus, I pressed your message, right? Yeah, no, Michael's definitely right. And there is a book in everyone. Yeah, Cyrus, the camera is here. I'm not sure. I need the software to make it work, Cyrus. So I'll call you. And even though I've got a family barbecue this afternoon, so after talking to you, I'm gonna go and do the barbecue, but Roxana wants my help, so we'll cross that bridge. I'm still waiting for you to come up, Cyrus. Which is why I think it's Restream that's giving us the problems. Right, we wait, we fold our arms. Yeah, gives an idea how. Oh, there it is. I hope today has been a source of inspiration for you. It certainly has, Cyrus, for me. Every day that I see all of you, it gives me joy, right? And that your words and actions have inspired those around you. Exactly, Cyrus, right? Every day is a blessing. Let's use it to the maximum to impact more people and influence more lives. I think that's a good place to leave our conversation today. Yeah, my friends, I will thank you for spending your time with me. Truly grateful to Americans, especially because I know how early it is in your part of the world, but you're here, right? You can still be doing the right thing, sleeping, but you're not. You're here with us. I appreciate you. Look, join us again in a couple of weeks' time. So I've got many questions that I do want to answer. I think I got my next conversation in my diary. So, but you see, you'll find out what it is in good time. Yeah. So, look, my friends, I can't thank you enough. If you have an event coming up, again, do share with us. And if you got a book, do put the link in the comments. I'm sure we'll have to have a look. Yes. Okay. So Michael says, I suppose you need about 360 editors. Well, actually, you would need more than that. It would be like an overlapping thing, right? To write a book each day. That was my point earlier, Michael. It's all right recording, it's all right transcribing, it's the tidying, and there's different ways you can do the tidying to arrive at your manuscripts. So you can do generic content, or you can, again, the publisher like me would ask you questions. Explain that bit. Tell us more about that bit. What really happened there? What are you trying to say, right? I certainly say there's a reason why for most of my clients I record once a week. I could record every day. I don't. I just have too much content to work through, right? I record every week. Eventually I will sit down, and it takes several months, Michael, to get through the transcripts for a book. Yeah, I think I can get through it a whole, let's say, a 2-hour recording in a day. I can't. So what you end up doing is doing a bit every day, a bit every day. Suddenly one chapter is done. So a bit more, and then a bit more, and then suddenly another chapter is done, right? That's how I tend to do it. I try not to. Again, this goes back to what I said right at the beginning, which is I don't want your book lingering in my life. I don't want your book renting space in my head forever. Let's get your book down, published, out there selling. That way, I can let go of it and leave it with you, and you can come back to me if you need my help, either to write another book or to sell the book that you've got, right? Michael says, and on top of books, I will say that they are not an audio book. Okay. I'll say that if they're not an audio book, okay. If it's not an audio book, I will shy away from that as a consumer. Yeah, I read more than average amount of books each year, but I listen to far greater number. It's more efficient. I tend to learn more by doing and moving than I do by sitting still. Michael, interesting concept. Look, I agree with I read more books, but I read more audiobooks, and that now YouTube has audiobooks. You haven't got to watch a video. There's not normally a video, just audio, right? I listen to a lot of Audible. Sometimes I even read books. I read ebooks. That my system reads to me, right? Does that mean you're not reading? Of course not. No, you're still reading. You're still consuming the content. Sometimes when I have books when we're driving, the thing I would say about listening to books is that it normally takes me a couple of times to begin to notice some of the finer points in books. So I can listen to a book first time and think, oh, that's a great book. Okay, here's a few points I can take away. When you listen to the same book again, funny how you have a different take, a different, you're more attuned to the issues, and suddenly things pop out at you that you almost didn't notice first time. So I tend to read books several times. I buy paper books. Well, I buy books that I get to publish, especially, and my friends send me books too. The publishers world, people send you books. And you enjoy that book, read it. What do you think? Thanks. Anyway, look, thank you so much, everyone. So my wife just come to the door. Our guests are here apparently. Dr. Roxana, if you're there, let's have a conversation. Let me see what I can help you with your StreamYard issue. My friends, I would love for us to connect. I'd love for us to have a conversation. You know, and there is a book in you. I don't know who's on my stage. Oh, it's Mr. Cyrus. It would be rude not to give you the stage for a few minutes, Cyrus. See, I'm clicking to let you on stage. Right.
Hi, Annie. How's it going? You okay?
I'm all right, mate. You know, this camera's driving
Good
me
to see
crazy.
you.
It's a bit spooky. You know, it follows me around the room. So I've moved, but it
So,
hasn't moved.
can I please start by saying your live events are always fantastic. I'm sorry I missed this one. I mean, a big chunk of it. I was working with a client, creating an audiobook, and she wanted to add music to the
Yeah,
audiobook,
yeah,
which isn't
yeah,
that common.
yeah.
So we did it for her, and she was very happy. So
Good on you.
then I managed to actually come to this live. So I just wanted to say, if you guys are creating an audiobook or creating a book, um, you probably never get the same chance in your life again to do the same thing you're doing now, right? And you never get around doing audiobooks in the future. So if you're inspired enough to do it right now, do it right now. There's no such thing as later. Just do it now. And
Yeah,
if you're doing it through if you're doing it yourself, if you're doing it in any other shape or form, just do it. Okay.
yeah,
I know I'm
yeah.
sounding at the risk of sounding like a
No, no,
hype,
no,
but just
no.
do
This
it.
is the right thing to say, my friend. It's the right thing to say, right? No, sometimes we have to be honest and brutal and say, look, if you don't get it done now, all you're going to do is procrastinate, and then suddenly time and life gets in the way, right?
Absolutely, you are
You
so different. If you're writing a book, if you're creating an audiobook, you are different. You're a producer, you're a creator,
know?
and the rest of the world are going to be consuming what you've created. Okay, you should be so proud of yourself. Just
Yeah,
create it. Just finish it.
no,
You've started it, finish it. If you haven't started, just start it.
yeah, no, I love that. No, you see, this is what I'm trying to get across, Cyrus, right? That we as publishers, you know, and on this side, on the professional side, we have a just finish it mentality. Finish it. No, and we're not saying rush it. We're saying put a system in place to get your book done. If it's an audio book, you're writing your book. I say, but essentially, do a bit every day. Do what you need to do to meet our deadline, our schedule to get this book finished. Whereas now, self-publishers, you know, they can easily get waylaid. You know, I'm not. It's not a blame game. I'm just saying the truth, right? They get waylaid by life, the kids, work. Suddenly, a year's passed. Suddenly, another year. Suddenly, now we're talking 20 years has passed. So your book's still waiting to come out, right? You know, but no, I love how we have that drive to, you know, focus,
But
prioritize.
if we don't, we would be in the wrong business, right?
Well, you know, we have loads of clients waiting for us to finish their books, and we can't have that. We
Absolutely,
can't have
absolutely.
that.
Absolutely.
You
You
know,
know,
I
you're
want your
one
book
of
done.
the people who actually go as far I have, and I'm grateful to the show itself and people who are around you, like Dr. Oksana. She also. Um, Also, Jay was also fantastic. What was Jay's surname again?
Yeah,
Jay
J.
Pasqua.
Pasqua.
Jay Pasqua.
Yeah,
He's also a source of inspiration, has been for all of us. So
yeah,
if there's anyone listening to this show right now and actually thinking about finishing your book, continuing your book, starting your book, you're in the right place. This is the right space.
yeah. And I wish I had your video to show Cyrus. There's a book in you, right? I really wish I had that. Yeah. But Michael, look, enjoy your barbecue. Enjoy your barbecue, right? You know, I don't know. Barbecues are good. The concepts are good, right? No, so the problem is that there's burnt bits. I don't understand why there's burnt bits in the food. I don't get it. Where have I gone? Yeah, there you go. Cyrus, why is it? Could the slowness be that because I'm on 4K on this camera, Cyrus?
Go on 1080 when your internet when your
Yeah.
bandwidth when your bandwidth is letting you down,
Mm,
always reduce the DPI,
okay.
and that will help you.
Okay. Cool.
to have a smoother kind of flow.
That makes perfect sense. Look, I'll thank you all for joining us. Cyrus, thank you for joining us. You know, our friends will learn more.
It's a pleasure.
About us
Always
as
a
time
pleasure.
goes on, of course. And then I say, you know, I'll certainly, bring you on a lot more so people can begin to, experience the Cyrus effect. Let's go down to high. Everything's high there.
Thank you all, and I wish you a wonderful rest of the day.
Yeah.
Take good care of yourselves, guys. Bye-bye.
And the weekend as well, my friends. Weekend's here, right? You take care.
And a lovely weekend.
Yes, take care, everyone. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Thanks, Michael. You're a star. Thanks, everyone who's joined us. I appreciate you all. I'm waiting for the graphics to come up so I can play the outgoing song. Here goes, my friends. Take care. Just click the button. I'm still waiting for the button for the song to kick in. Cool. It makes you worry when it comes to ending the show, right? How do I end the show? Will it end when I want to do it? Here it goes. 3, 2, 1.
He sees from the children with no voice in borrowed rooms to the magazines that carry their truth. 25 years of the same steady hand, finding the ones who fell through the cracks of the plan. And he sees you. He sees you. He sees you. From the children with no voice in borrowed rooms to the magazines that carry their truth. 25 years of the same steady hand, finding the ones who fell through the cracks of the plan. From Mitcham to Croydon, from London to the world, every flaggy planet said, you matter, you're hurt, but there's a man who finds you in the car.
I don't know what happened there. There's a restream. I just doing what restream does. So we meant to play the song, but they want to play the song. So, oh well. It's going to have to end, my friends. Take care. Bye. Even ending the stream is going to take time because restream